Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and life coach Tom Wells here. Today is Monday, April the 2nd, 2018, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, your first daily dose of happy for the day. And Tom, hope you're off to a good start for this new week and this new month of April.
Yes, I am, as good as I can get, and looking forward to the show because we're going to get even better.
That's true. You've got some stuff saved up for us that should get everybody really feeling good here on a Monday morning. And there's no better time to do it because we have all this culture that tells us Mondays are terrible, and we're here to reverse that and say, no, Mondays are wonderful, and we're going to prove it. We're going to make you feel good and right today. So let's get to it. Tom, what do you got for us?
All right. Well, we talked in the last show on Friday about positive self-talk.
That's right.
And that's what we decided we would continue with today's show and in tomorrow night's call-in show, because positive self-talk is, for me, and hopefully for a lot of you out there in the listening audience, this is a good topic to work on, to take a close look at, because if we were more of our day talking to ourselves and to others about our lives in ways that were consistently uplifting and soothing and inspiring and otherwise helpful, that could be a lot better than the times when we're talking and thinking in ways that are self-defeating, you might say, or bring us down, or they don't lead us towards the direction we wish our lives were going in. And for me, I know, and working with a lot of clients, I could say that there's a lot of us that I think do talk in ways often that aren't helpful, and that it's just an old habit that we learned, growing up. We learned throughout our lives to not necessarily always say things that are helpful.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, we all tend to have these little scripts that we've learned that have kept playing and playing and playing in our heads. And that's why I'm on day 45 now of my mirror exercises. And after about 30 days or so, that negative self-talk that has been going on for years in my head finally got quiet because I was doing these positive mirror exercises. So I can attest to the fact that not only does it work, but it even worked for me, somebody who previously couldn't get affirmations to work for him. And I found out why. It's just because I didn't do it long enough. That's all. Now I'm doing it long enough, and it goes away.
That's great.
Yeah. So
this way that we've heard, if you've listened to Abraham Hicks very much, and you listen to when Abraham through Esther begins to do what they call rampages of appreciation, right. And basically a rampage of appreciation. If you haven't heard one of them, I suggest you could look that up on YouTube. Oh. It's when Abraham speaks through Esther in a way that is just consistently one sentence after another of positive statements that often do begin with talking about things that one appreciates, because that's a great way to open the doors to what leads us to feeling better about our lives, is appreciation. So what I thought I would do to start the show off today is read one that I transcribed, which is an example of a rampage of appreciation. And this one, sometimes they're given in real forceful language that is spoken in rapid fire, and sometimes I notice that they're also spoken in very quiet, methodic, just simple, gentle ways. And I think this one is somewhere in the middle. And so I'm going to read it with that, just sort of not super excited, but, let's just see how it comes out across here. They're talking to a woman and telling her that they want to show her how to construct thought roadways, they call them, thought roadways. It will then make it easy for you to pick up and take right off. So they begin, I accept that I live in a vibrational universe, and I like the idea of getting back to the core of vibration. I can feel that that's primal or visceral. I can feel that that's where my inner being is. That's who my inner being is. And I can easily accept that my inner being is a pure vibration an uncluttered vibration, meaning no resistance. I can feel that my inner being is a vibration of love. I can feel that my inner being is a vibration of love and worthiness. In other words, personal known value. I can feel that my inner being is love and is source and knows it and stands in the central place of radiating well-being. I can feel that's who my inner being is, and I'd love it when I hook up with that, and I do often. I can feel when I'm really in alignment with that, and I can feel when I'm not. I love that I have this guidance system. I'm glad that my emotions are such good indicators to me. And I can feel when I'm skirting on the edge, and I can feel when I dive right in, and I can feel when I'm far from it. I'm really getting a good handle on my emotions, which give me my clear indication of my alignment with this core of stability and excellence and exuberance and love and passion and power. I can feel the fullness of the power of the universe at times, and I know that I can access that power and I can direct it to whatever matters to me. I just love knowing that I'm an extension of that. And I'm not even bothered in realizing that sometimes I deviate from that power because I know I was born to do a little deviating. I was born to sift through the contrast, to give birth to some desires. So I've been doing that. I've been sifting. I've been knowing what I don't want, knowing what I do want, and I can feel I've built a really powerful vortex of creation that I'm now ready to tap into. I like knowing it's there. I like the idea of building some roadways to it. And I like knowing that unless I'm doing that thing I'm doing that's constructing other roadways, that I'm right there. I like knowing I don't have to tear down the other roadways. I just have to, from right now where I am, I just have to hook up with that one roadway that leads me to where I want to go. It's like all paths are possible. I'm just going to hook up with the one vibrationally that will lead me where I want to go. So I'm now getting that creation isn't about asking Abraham or figuring out on my own how to manifest stuff. I'm understanding that creation is how to figure out how to hook in with the thought ways that take me to the road, that takes me in the direction of where I'm wanting to go. My work in every moment is the creation of a thought now that hooks me up in the direction of where I want to go. I don't have to figure out how to build the whole highway or how to build the whole house or how to build the whole life or how to build the whole dream. I just have to figure out how to get on the highway moving in the right direction. I just have to find those beginning pieces of it. And I know that they always feel good when I find them. I could find them by frivolously playing Doodle Jump. That's a game on the internet. I can find them by taking a walk on the beach. I can find them by putting on my headphones and listening to music. I can find them by putting my feet in the water and looking at the clouds or the stars. In other words, I don't have to be hard after anything. All I have to do is hook up with the thought ways. And most of the effort that me and everybody else I know has been offering, the effort that I offer, hooks me into the wrong pathway. My effort is wrong-headed. It's my relaxing. It's my letting go. It's my letting it be that hooks me up with the right pathway. So here I am. I'm all hooked up. I'm hooked up. I'm tuned in, tapped in, turned on. I can feel my alignment with Source. And now in my alignment with Source, I think I would like to entertain myself, surprise and delight myself a little bit. I would like to enjoy myself by talking to myself about what a good creator I am. I would think I will entertain myself with those pleasing thoughts that are so in sync with who I am right now in this moment. For example, I created, and then she asked, Abraham asked the person in the chair to say something that they created, to say something that they're proud of that they've created, and then talk about the beauty and the magnificence of what they have accomplished, of how you allowed it to be, how the universe responded in a big, big way in co-creating with me this magnificent thing. In fact, of all the things that I've created, this is my greatest triumph. I know that there will be more equal, but this is magnificent. So I'm good at what I do. I'm good at what I do. I could say, for example, I created this coaching business, and it's been so wonderful to be in touch with people from all over the world who contact me and they want to find out how they can create their life in a way that is more satisfying them, that's more fulfilling for them, that they can no longer be plagued by problems that have bothered them. And it's exciting to watch that happen. I love I love talking to people and watching them get more and more turned on to the fact that their life is a brilliant, creative thing and that they are really in control of how they think about their life and what they tell themselves. I love co-creating with this universe who has all the resources and all the knowledge of everything that I want and the knowledge of where everything is in relationship with me and about everything that I want. I'm in such good hands with these universal forces who guide me moment by moment incrementally. Things are always working out for me, no matter what. Things are always working out for me because in every moment I'm either contributing to the vortex or I'm lining up with it. Things are always working out for me.
Very good. Yeah.
So that's an example of what we're talking about. Can you learn to talk to yourself like that?
Well, that's what I've been doing. That's exactly what I've been doing. And I have to say there are two ways to look at this, to do this kind of thing. One is to have somebody like Abraham, say something, say a long piece like that to listen to. And that's good. That does work. The other thing is to come up with your own things to talk about, which is, I think, a little bit better because the stuff that we talk about regarding our own lives, assuming we actually do pick the positives rather than the negatives, is going to have more positive emotion behind it. And it's going to be stuff that we feel even better about, so it's going to have more of an impact. But either one is good. They're both good to do. And as I was listening to you talk there, I was feeling it. I mean, I was feeling happier. I was feeling the joy of it. I was feeling the excitement of it. So that was great. That was really good.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you that the reason that we're doing the podcast on this topic is in order to ask each other, can we better learn this skill? How can we better learn this skill of doing it ourselves? Because for me, I've been listening to Abraham, on and off since 2006, and I've heard many, many rampages of appreciation. And I might have said this in the last podcast, but the thing that I always notice is I want to learn how to do that. I want to get good at that,
Oh, yeah.
And I never really have taken the time until this podcast to really say, how can I really get good at this? It's one thing to tell a better feeling story, which I do, and I've been doing that for years, but I do it in I don't do it like all day long. That I'm cultivating the ability. I am constantly learning to, if I have a thought that comes in my head that is something I don't want, I have luckily finally learned over the last couple of years to be able to say, well, what would I rather be telling myself instead of that thought? Without that, I don't think I could have changed my life as much as I have. But, just to get good at saying, okay, so if I don't want that, what do I want? And then I start talking about what I want.
And when we're trying to learn how to do this regular appreciation thing, it's really helpful, I think, to just make it a pattern of doing it at least once a day. So that you're building the habit of doing it. Because, like with the mirror work, the first day I had the mirror work, first of all, I was having trouble just doing it because one of the things you're supposed to do is to look in the mirror and say to yourself, I love you, while you're looking in your own eyes. And that was really hard for me. It was so hard that after I did it the first day, within 3 seconds, my mirror work was done for the day. I couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
But also, similarly, it can be hard to come up with, what positive things do you want to say? Because we're not necessarily in the habit of doing that. Particularly if we're in a place where we want to learn to do this, it means that there's a whole lot of negativity going on inside our heads. Well, that means it's going to take a little while to get used to it, to kind of, try to do it and see what comes out. So maybe the first day, the best you can do is come up with just one good thing to focus on. Well, guess what? Congratulations, you came up with one good thing. The main thing is don't stop there. The second day, say your one good thing and see if you can come up with one more good thing. Because if you keep doing that over time, by the end of 30 days, you got 30 things you're saying to yourself. And you're starting to build that real strong rampage of positivity that you're talking about, Tom.
Yes, and a lot of times I notice that what Abraham said is if it's hard to talk about specifics that you're excited about and things that you're creating in your life and that all the good feelings around those things, then go general with it and just talk about the good feelings in your life in general.
Right. Absolutely. I think it's totally correct. In fact, going general is good to do in any circumstance where we're trying to get to some sort of goal, we're trying to attract something, we're trying to develop new positive rampages, we're trying to reprogram our subconscious mind, whatever it might be. All of them work better early on, especially by going general.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they were talking about what it is to go general, means that you just talk about things in a way that is, Abraham was doing it a lot in that one that I just read, which is you're just not saying, for example, things like, I'm intending to make $1 million and I'm going to make that $1 million by December 31st, 2018. And I intend to really be, this way or that way in my business, and all the different specifics, or in a relationship, talking about all the ins and outs of what you're going to do with your partner. That's going to be positive, which is good stuff to do if you're already feeling that you're engaged in that positive feeling. But if you just have to, if I'm in a place where I'm just sort of feeling down and I'm not saying hardly anything to myself that's uplifting, where can I begin? And a lot of times we just acknowledge the fact that, well, even though I don't feel really very happy right in this moment, I can remember times when I have been really happy, and I know that these things do ebb and flow, and I believe that I'm getting back to that place. Even as I'm talking right now, I'm getting back to a place of feeling better, because I'm reminding myself that really the universe is created in a way that it's designed to bring me to happiness, that really I can accept that that's my default state. And I really do believe that. And so you begin to tell yourself things like that,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you definitely want to draw from your own experience wherever you can. And everybody can. I mean, I don't know of anybody who's alive today who has not had at least some good experiences some point in their lives. I mean, no matter how bad your life has been, there's got to be some. Otherwise, you would literally be dead by now. So just draw on the ones that are good. And if there's only a few of them, then at least you have a few of them to start with. Then once you've got started with those, what will happen is, as you focus on those, you'll find it more and more comfortable to believe that you could make incrementally better shifts in your own life, and you'll try to reach for those little ones. But I agree with you, Tom. If you try to just go for the gusto and go for the big goal right off the top of the bat, so to speak, and expect it to come true when you're in a place of doubt and lack and fear and all the negative self-talk, that's probably not your best bet. You're probably going to defeat yourself really soon by giving up. So why set yourself up to give up, right? The idea is to do this every single day, to create a new habit, a new pattern of thought, and a new pattern of talking to others, and a new pattern of doing things based on inspired action instead of based on, I got to do this, I got to do that, which only leads you to, not desirable results, shall we say.
Yeah. So do you want to practice doing it today again on air?
Yeah, sure. We can do that.
You want to see what each of us, I've already done a little bit of it, but I can do more. Or do you want to give it a try?
Yeah. I'll just draw upon the mirror work that I do. I've already done it today, actually looking in the mirror, so I won't look in the mirror while we're doing this, but that's normally the way you do the mirror exercises.
Right.
But I'll just start off by looking myself in the eye, and I'll start with saying, I love you. I think you're fantastic. I think you're amazing. And I'll smile as I'm saying this, too, because the smile helps to reinforce. By the way, I just want to take a moment to point out, one of the easiest ways you can get yourself into a better space, both for yourself and with others, is by smiling more often. The act of smiling, particularly with other people around, where you smile at other people, not only feeds them, it feeds yourself in ways that you don't expect. For instance, I like, when I take my walks and so forth, or when I'm out in public, I will try to make it a practice on many occasions. I don't do it every time, but many occasions I will make it a practice every time that I see somebody who we're crossing paths, so to speak. If we're coming within like 10 feet of each other and no closer, I'll give them a smile. And like 9 times out of 10, I'll get a smile back. And that's what I mean, where it reinforces you in ways you don't expect, because that smile that comes back feels good. It feels really great. And then if they come within a few feet of me, like, 3 or 4 feet away, then I'll also greet them. I'll say, "Hey, how you doing?" And 9 times out of 10, they'll say, "Oh, I'm fine. How are you?" Or, "Beautiful day," or, "How's it going?" You get all kinds of and there's a great way to get positivity. So, like, when I'm looking in the mirror, I'm thinking not only what can I say to myself, but I'm also thinking about what can I say to others. And then I'll say that to myself. So, I love you. I think you're terrific. I really appreciate what you did yesterday. This is one of the things I'll say to myself. I appreciate the fact that you wanted to get some work done. You felt like you needed to get some work done on the book, but you also knew you needed to take time for yourself. And so you took the time for yourself. That is so amazing. Congratulations for doing that, Walt. I mean, because you know your history. More often than not, you would have just said, "Oh, I got to get the work done. I mean, yeah, it's the weekend, but I got to get the work done. I'm just going to plow right into it, even if you're not feeling it." Well, that's not what you did yesterday. Yesterday, you gave yourself the day off, and it was worth it. It was great. Among other things, you went online, played some online poker, and you won the frigging tournament. I mean, how good is that? It was fun. It was great. So thank you for doing that. And if I'm doing this on a work day, and I had a work day yesterday, I'll do the same thing. I'll say, I really like the way that you handled yesterday. I like the way that that project needed to get done, and instead of just diving into it, you started first by setting your intention. That was fantastic. That's what you really want to do every time, because when you do that, that's when you shine the biggest. That's when you produce the best results. And look how fast you got the darn thing done. It was like half the normal time to get it done. Congratulations, and thank you for doing that, because that's what makes you and me, because we're the same person, you and me do better. That's how we get better lives, how we end up with a better life. So thank you for that. And let's do the same thing going forward today. Today is a brand new day. Today is what we have. This is it. We don't really have the past. The future isn't even promised. But today we have. Today we have, so let's put it to use. Let's really go for it. Let's go for the gusto. Let's be the best we can be today, because we deserve it. We deserve to have the best. We deserve to be the best. We deserve to be happy. We deserve to be joyful. We deserve to enjoy life. So let's do it. What do you say? I'll say stuff like that.
Good. Yeah. Brought a smile to my face. I was just sitting here realizing that, it's so nice to kind of bask and in these feelings of just talking about anything that feels good.
Yeah.
As opposed to any of those thoughts that are saying, well, another day, and I still got this problem, and I'm going, and I got this problem still, and this is bugging me, and I hate this, and whatever it is, that each of us might do in that way, and this is basically ways that we can talk to ourselves that actually work.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so, if you don't have any big victories to point to, that's okay. I mean, it could be something as simple as, I love the fact that you spent time yesterday petting the cat. And she loved it. She was purring up a storm, and her fur felt so good. And it was just a nice, relaxing, calming moment. It felt so good. Got to keep doing that. Now that doesn't require any kind of tremendous accomplishment that happened lately or wonderful step forward. All you did was pet the cat. But you can turn petting the cat into something that resonates in both your conscious and your subconscious mind for the better.
And you can acknowledge that, some things are maybe not working right now. Some things are, maybe you did something that didn't feel good, or you've been feeling bad. And you talk about, even though I've been feeling that way, now is a new moment, and now is a new moment. And maybe I'm learning something about my emotions, and maybe, I'm starting to get it more. I'm starting to understand things, and heck, I'm putting into my vortex a lot of what I do want, because I really am seeing what I don't want. And it's good that that's just building up in my vortex as more and more of something that's going to be flowing to me. And I think I can just, relax a little bit in the fact that I don't have to feel so pressured to make things happen exactly the way, in some kind of perfect way. I'm just on my way. I'm on my journey, and it's okay where I'm at, because somehow I'm just always in the right place, doing the right thing if I can just accept that. There's no big pressure. Nobody's judging me. Nobody's evaluating me, other than myself. And I can learn to be more gentle on myself. I can learn to be easier on myself. And that's what I'm doing. I'm choosing to speak in this way because it's helping me understand that it's all up to me to just relax. It's up to me just to not make this an intense situation for myself. I can have fun.
That's right. I also love the fact, too, that when you do this on a daily basis, it doesn't have to be real long. I mean, we have 24 hours every day, right? Yeah. And yet I found, and this is what happened with the mirror work, because on average I spent, the range was from 5 seconds the first day to like a minute and a half on a couple days. Mm-hmm. But most days it was like 30 seconds of mirror work. Mm-hmm. 30 seconds of mirror work out of a 24-hour day done every single day overcame a lifetime of negative self-talk.
It's pretty powerful.
That's incredibly powerful. That's like unbelievably powerful. I mean, I don't remember what the exact number. There's something like 84,000 minutes in a day. So I was able to take like one half of that. So like 160,000ths of a day, every day, and that turned my negative self-talk around. That's unbelievable. But it shows how powerful this stuff really is.
Yeah. One way to do positive self-talk that can be practiced like that is what we might have spoken of last podcast is segment intending.
Oh, yeah, I love that stuff.
When we're like, when I first get up in the morning, like right now here, it's 6 a.m. and 6:30 in Colorado in the morning. And so for me, it's very early and I'm wanting to set the tone of my day. And one way to do that is to say, I do this often in bed before I get out of bed, is I say, well, what is it that I want to feel today? What is it I want to experience? And just in terms of going general. And so I say things like, well, today I really want to feel dynamic. I want to feel excited about my life. I want to feel that life is an adventure and that I have an entire day ahead of me and that this day, lots of really cool things could happen. I'm really looking forward to this day being the unfolding of some good feeling times and some good feeling experiences where I'm going to accomplish something on some level, one thing or more than one thing that I'm going to feel good about, that I'm going to today choose that I'm going to feel good as I fix my coffee, as I fix my breakfast. I'm going to feel good when I fix my dinner. I'm going to feel good. I'm going to go out on a walk and feel good. I'm going to look at the work that I have to do and straighten up my desk and put things in order and look for, well, what's the best feeling thing that I want to do next? And I'm going to choose that thing. And these are all options I have. I don't have to do anything today other than relax and do the things that are in front of me in a way that feels as good as I can make it feel, good as I can let myself feel. So that's what I'm choosing today. I'm choosing to have that kind of clarity, that kind of openness to myself, that kind of forgiveness and happiness with myself, that I accept myself just the way I am, and that I know that my life can get better. I know my life is constantly improving in beautiful ways. And I know I can just relax and enjoy it. It's not a mission that I have to get to some big conclusion. I can just be happy, just doing simple things, be happy the fact that I'm alive, happy the fact that my body feels good, happy in the fact that my head is clear, happy in the fact that my eyes can read and my ears can hear music, and I can go put on some music that I really love as I fix my breakfast and really enjoy that music. Just relax into it. I don't have to put pressure about what I'm going to do next in my morning. I can wait and do that when I get to my desk. It's not that I have to always be on point and always figuring everything out. I've been that way in the past and that's been okay. But now I'm choosing to learn by being in a relaxed place, being in an easy place, being in a fun place. Like, am I actually having fun with my life? Do I like being me? Do I like playing this game of life? And I'm going to make it just fun for myself today. And
that's very good. Yeah. I especially like when you said that you like being dynamic. Because, of course, the opposite of dynamic is be static. And to be static means to be stuck in one place. Whereas to be dynamic means that you're moving, you're shifting, you're shaking and baking, you're doing things mentally and you're doing things physically. And I especially like the idea of, like you said, when you're doing this as a segment intention. Segment intending, by the way, for those who aren't clear, that's where you take a chunk of your day, like the next chunk that's coming up, whatever length of time it might be. It might be 30 minutes, it might be 3 hours, it could be almost anything. But whatever that next chunk is that you're doing activity X, before you start that activity, you get yourself in the proper frame of mind. You put yourself into the positive state deliberately using one of these little rampages we're talking about. One that you create for yourself that is appropriate to what's going on in your life, that is appropriate to what is the good side of your life, because there's always a good side. We just have to find it. And then where possible, you apply it specifically to the activity you're about to pursue. So if right now you're getting ready to start your workday, you might want to treat it as a first opportunity to do a segment intention. So let's say you're somebody who works in an office. Okay, a lot of people work in offices, so we'll use that as an example. So before you go into the office, you want to think to yourself, okay, what are the tasks I have to do today? Well, I know I have to return some phone calls, and I have to check my emails, and then I have a meeting at 10, and then I have a whole bunch of creative work I have to do from 11 to 3 with a lunch break, and you can break it down like that. Okay, now what's the first part of my day? Well, the first part of my day is where I am returning phone calls and checking emails. Okay, so for that chunk of the day, I am going to intend that I'm going to be in the best possible mood I can be in, and when it comes time to read the emails, I'm always going to look at them from the most positive viewpoint I can look at them. I'm not going to get wrapped up in any criticisms that might be perceived in there. In fact, I'm going to do my best to just skip past those, not even see that part, and just look at the good part of it. Because there's always a good part if I take the time to look for it. And then when it comes time to returning the phone calls, I'm going to put a happy sound in my voice. I'm going to put a smile into my voice. I'm going to say, hey, how you doing? This is Walt. How's it going today? Just wanted to return your call to tell you X, all the stuff that I have to tell them. But to get myself into that good place first. That's segment intending. And when you segment intend, whatever segment of the day you're working on becomes a much more productive and a much happier part of the day. So even if you're doing a job you don't even like, you can still make parts of it enjoyable. And that makes the job better. And more importantly, it gets you into a better frame of mind so you can attract the job you really do want.
Yeah. I've seen clients really change their lives with this, and I've done it too. You can be going into a meeting, right? Like you're saying, and you know that maybe in the past, some of those things that have happened in those meetings have turned into, clashes with different personalities, and you're, part of you is not looking forward to the fact that this could happen again because so-and-so almost always says this kind of statement, and then that pushes my buttons or whatever. And so you can intend before you go into that meeting to say, okay, what do I want to experience in this meeting? And then start naming those qualities. I want it to be, actually, I want to feel playful in this meeting, and I want to feel like a good contributor. I want to feel like I'm clear on what I say. I want to be a good listener. I want to be sort of really accepting of each person in the meeting as an equal. I want to be, clear on what it is that my part is in this group, and that I'm doing it in a way that I feel a lot of integrity about what I'm saying and what I'm doing in this meeting. And what I find is then just go into the meeting and forget about, you can just in a way just forget about all those things that you said and just let them happen. You just sort of trust that, well, I made that intention and I'm just going to relax now. But sometimes you actually remember during the meeting, I did say that I wanted to really make a contribution this meeting. So I think I'm going to speak up this time. I'm going to talk about what's going on in my division or whatever it is.
And the other thing about going into a meeting, very often people have very negative associations with meetings.
Yeah.
So we may be walking into the meeting and feel like, oh, God, this is going to be so boring. Mary just drones on and on. I wish she would get to the point. And when you do that, of course, you're setting yourself up for a bad meeting and ultimately for a bad day. Now, yes,
And
that's
specifically about something with Mary.
yeah, more specifically, a bad time with Mary in some way. So now that you know what the consequences are of going in with the idea, oh God, it's going to be another boring meeting, now's the time to segment and intend a different kind of meeting. And yes, okay, maybe that's been the reality. Maybe the reality has been that they've all been boring. But you know what? There's also some positives if you look for them. You have to look for them. If you won't look at them, nobody else will do it for you. You're the one who has to do it. And you can find them. You have to look at the specifics of the people you know who are involved, like you know who Mary is, you know who the other people are in the meeting, and think about what are their positive sides. There may be only one or two things in their positive side, but they're there. You just have to look for them. So maybe Mary is a terrible meeting runner and she's boring to listen to and so forth, but maybe her heart's in the right place. So you focus on, well, the good thing about Mary is her heart's in the right place. And I really want to support her on that part. I'm glad that her heart's in the right place. I don't like her decisions most of the time, but I don't have to like her decisions. The main thing is her heart's in the right place, and I applaud her for that. And then John, who's also going to be in the meeting, he's a plotter, and my God, he can just plod on and plod on and plod on, and we never get anywhere. But on the other hand, he's methodical. He never skips a detail. The one thing you can count on with John is that the details are going to be covered. So there are a couple good things that are going to happen in this meeting. One is that Mary is actually going to be doing something and talking about something where her heart really is in the right place and she's trying to solve something important. And John's going to actually find some of the details we would tend to overlook. So now you've started to shift how you're perceiving the meeting. And once you've started to shift it, then you can kind of reach for new stuff. So maybe today, with Mary's heart being in the right place and John really being detail-oriented, maybe Mary might be in a frame of mind where she's willing to consider ideas about how to shorten the meeting. You know what? I have an idea I'm going to suggest to her. I'm going to suggest, why don't we limit everybody to speaking for 30 seconds, and let's see how we can move the whole topic along that way. So let's see what she would say to that. Again, I'm just making stuff up as I'm going along here, but the point is, you can shift the way you're going to perceive that meeting before you walk into it. Incrementally shift it. Make it a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And when you do that, the meeting will end up being a better meeting.
Yeah. It's being a vibration leader, you might say.
Yes,
and
good.
Being the vibrational leader of our own life. And you're finding the thought pathways, as in that piece that I read to open the podcast, you're finding what Abraham is calling thought pathways that will lead you to the road, that will lead you to getting into your vortex, getting into this place where more and more you're accepting the fact that life is actually, happening for your good, that really so many things that we worry about are because we don't, at least for me, I don't really believe or trust or know that life is consistently lining itself up. The universe is lining itself up for things to work out for me. The same forces that keep the planets spinning in perfect proximity to each other, as Abraham always says, is actually controlling my life, and that if I tap into that level of energy, then really I can walk into that meeting in a way knowing that there's forces much bigger than any problems that this group has. There's forces bigger than that are at work here. The same way if you've had a problem with your spouse for years and years and years, but you want to finally start addressing those problems, there is a way to do it that you can have faith that and trust that that the source has got your back on this, the universe has got your back, and that transformation can take place. So big shifts can be made in these relationships. And the voice that says, well, it's been this way for a long time and it's been horrible and it's not going to change anytime soon. And those kind of thoughts, it can begin to change them by making intentions, that even though it's been really difficult with my wife for, a long time, today can be the day that things can begin to shift. Today is the day that I intend that things will begin to shift. And I'm going to bring the most positive attitude I can to the possibility of allowing that shift to begin to take place.
Absolutely. As Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, either way, you are right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly it. It just comes down to whether you think you can or whether you think you can't. And you get to pick. You're not tied down. It's not like someone's forcing you to say, no, I can't do it. No, I can't do it. You can change your mind anytime you want to just by saying, yeah, I don't know how necessarily. I'm not sure how it's going to happen. I don't know necessarily how to do it, but I can make the change. I can do it. I don't have to know how. All I have to do is put out the intention that I'm going to make the change. The universe will give me clues on how to do it. So I don't have to figure it out. So that I can just say, you know what? I don't know how to do it. Universe, I need you to send me some clues on how to do it. But I want to make the change. I'm ready to make the change. Please help me make the change. And the universe will do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you do have to be paying attention, right? I mean, when clues come your way, you have to be willing to be aware of them. You have to notice them, because it's not like somebody comes up and says, hey, Walt, hey, I heard you ask for some help. I just came over here to give you some help. That's not the way it works. It would be really nice if it did work that way, but unfortunately, that's not the way it works. The way it normally works is we get little signals, right? Somebody shows up who we don't talk to very often. They come over and they say something very much along the line of the thing we're asking for help with. And it's like, whoa, where did that come from? It came from out of nowhere. Or, you know, I'm reading an article online or in a book or something like that, and the article is talking about the thing that I was asking about. Like, whoa,
Right.
there's another example of it. Or I'm in conversation with somebody, and I just get this feeling to say X. I say X, and the person I'm talking to says, yeah, and Y, by the way, happens to be directly related to the thing you were asking about. Boom, where'd that come from? That's the way it works. So that's why I say you have to be willing to be alert for it. You have to keep your senses keep your antenna up, so to speak, and pay attention to the stuff that comes to you, because it comes in a variety of different ways. You have to be willing to receive it and ready and able to receive it consciously.
Yeah. Law of attraction, actually works. And that's why Abraham so much says, create this book of positive appreciation, book of positive aspects that we, if you were to take the time, say 3 days a week or 4 days a week and write down in this book, in this, notebook, journal, things that you appreciate about, say, you pick a different person, as I've mentioned before on the podcast, you pick a different person each time, excuse me, say it's your friend, Mary, it's your friend, or it's your daughter, or it's your spouse, or you're thinking of one of your parents, and you say, okay, what are things that I really love about Mary? What are things I really love about, Darren? Okay, well, he definitely always is the guy who offers to help. I really love that about Darren. I love his smile. He brings such a warmth when he walks in a room. You can just feel his warmth the second he walks in the room, and he has such a caring attitude. He's always asking you how you're doing. He's asking me, what's up and how things are going in my life. And then he takes an actual interest. He asks me questions about my life, and you start writing these things in your notebook. And before long, you've trained your vibration. You've trained the way you self-talk into starting to think that way about things. So, maybe your mind in the past, would have gone to noticing some qualities that are, you could call negative, worrisome qualities, things that bring you anxiety about any aspect of your life. But now you're training your mind to think about, okay, what are the things I appreciate about this situation?
Absolutely.
Like if you're growing a crop and half of your crop died, well, can you get into the fact of what you appreciate about the crop that didn't die, and then say, well, I've still got half of my beans are still doing great, and I'm going to be able to harvest them, and they're tasting really good, the ones that are left, and that's going to be enough. I really see how I can get more beans from my next door neighbor. And I mean, this is probably how people used to think a lot when they were growing their own food,
Yeah, right.
And things didn't work out with their particular growing, then they could turn to their neighbor, or they could, say, well, you know what, it's still July. I could plant a whole nother 8 rows of beans, and and I could still get beans by the end of August, and
that's right.
Yeah. So all this, can we turn and always look at the hopeful side of things as much as possible, and forgive ourselves and accept ourselves when we're not able to, and say, even though right now I feel pretty bad, I still feel like life is going to be okay, or that I'm capable of making intentions for things to turn out better. And then begin to add a little bit at a time to those statements that are hopeful, that are positive, that are going in the direction. Because like Abraham said, to get into your vortex of all these beautiful things that are in your vortex just takes belief and hope. And you just have to have enough belief and enough hope that it gets you to the doorway to your vortex. And then they said your vortex will pull you in. And to me, what that means is that if I just have belief and hope in my life, doors will begin to open, and I'll begin to see things starting to unfold for me. I'll see how things are working out for me.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. I also want to put in a vote in favor of doing a new exercise every day. Yes, you can doing it like 3 or 4 times a week, but I strongly advocate in a major way for doing something daily, even if you don't do as much. Even if, regardless of what you're doing, if you're doing journaling is great. Mirror exercises are great. Any kind of affirmations are great. Doing the exercise where you're walking down a hall or walking down the street or whatever, and everybody who you see, you smile at them. If they get close, you say hello to them. No matter what the exercise, there are dozens of them you can do, hundreds of them you can do. Maybe it's playing positive music. Maybe it's nature walks. It doesn't matter. Maybe it's just deliberately laughing every day. There's a thing called laughter yoga. I'd never heard of that until this past year. Laughter yoga. The people just go into a room together and they all force each other to just start laughing and just kind of get each other going. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's different. Yeah. But
I've done it. Yeah.
Have you done it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't really matter what it is that you're going to try to do. You pick one that feels the best, and then you commit to doing it every day, even if it's only for 5 seconds. That's what I found with the mirror exercise. Because let's say it's journaling. And you get out your journal and you're going to find one positive aspect about one thing in your life. And then you write that and you're done for the day. And then the next day you come back and now you're going to add a second thing. Because what happens is when you make it a daily practice, after a number of days, maybe a couple of weeks, it's hard to tell because it's going to be different for every person, you find yourself adding more information on each given occasion. So instead of adding just one item, after a while you find yourself adding 3 or 4 items or 5 items. Or maybe you actually do a little rampage like Tom or I were doing earlier. That's what builds up the cumulative effect. It's the daily activity. You need to have it as a habit, because when you made it a deliberate habit at first, it becomes a permanent habit after you've done it for some period of time. The experts disagree on how much time that is. Some say 21 days, some say 30 days, some say forever. I mean, it varies. But the point is, it becomes a habit. And it does. I mean, my mirror exercise has now pretty much become a habit. I still have to remember to do it, but it's not hard like it was the first day. Mm-hmm. It's the repetition that's so important. You got to have the repetition. The repetition is what does the reprogramming. And yes, you're focusing on good stuff, and that's literally what's doing the programming. But the repetition is what keeps it going.
Yeah. And the reason that I said 3 or 4 days a week is because I've learned through the coaching training that I've done and working with a whole lot of law of attraction coaches in those training situations, and in my own practice and in working with clients, that if it's not done from a place of enjoyment, then if it's done from a place of, well, I'm going to put in my time, there's a value to that because you can develop a habit that way. But without the corresponding vibration of enjoyment, without that corresponding vibration of enjoyment, it might not really produce the result that you want it to produce. So I always ask my clients and myself, is this what I want to do right now? And yes, sometimes I do it just because, like, I meditate every day because I just totally believe that if I practice that meditation, it's just always, I get rewarded so much, by doing the meditation. Mm-hmm. It always just like makes my day that much better. And I think, like what you're saying, if you're doing mirror work and you're enjoying it, to some degree. And sometimes you do have to push through a certain barrier. And that's where a habit is maybe acquired, right? Like
Right.
you tell yourself, well, it's sort of uncomfortable to get in front of this mirror and do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm looking forward to the results I'm getting. And this is cool. Maybe I'm going to stop my negative self-talk. And right. I mean, you talk to yourself like that and you keep yourself on track. And, I just noticed that some of the best coaches that I've been trained with are they're people that they only do things if it feels good to them. Like if they have a certain routine going and it starts to not feel good, they'll change up and do some other routine, or they won't do a routine for 3 weeks and then they'll get back to it,
I agree. Yeah. The fact is,
they're really good at doing that,
Oh yeah. And the key factor to pay attention to in my mind is they tried something and it didn't work.
Yeah.
The only way that you can get to the better feeling one is if you try things that don't work and keep trying until you find stuff that does work. So you have to try them. Even if you try them just one day and you say, nope, that doesn't work for me. Okay, great. There are dozens of them. Pick the next one. Doesn't matter what one it is. Just pick the one that seems to feel the best, like you were saying. Because if you do that very quickly, it doesn't take long to find at least one. I found 2 or 3 within a matter of a week. When I was first trying to do that. It doesn't take long to find them. And then once you found them, that's where I agree that you want to do it whenever you're feeling good. But I especially want to create the habit because I want to build the belief. Because a belief, as Abraham has taught us so clearly, is a thought that we continue to think over and over again. Well, that's why I want to think about that thought every day. If there's a belief I'm trying to build, if it's something I'm trying to reach for and I'm trying to kind of fake it till I make it because I'm not quite there yet, I want to make sure I'm thinking about it regularly. In fact, I might even be doing it more than once a day. I might be doing it periodically throughout the day if it's one that's really important to me. I may actually take the time, during my breaks and, while I'm in between answering emails or, in between when I'm plowing the field and taking lunch. Almost anything that I'm doing, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I will take time during the day and refocus on that one little belief that I'm trying to work on. Because I know that if I keep thinking it over and over and over again, it will become stronger and it will become bigger. It will become bigger. It's not just that it gets stronger, it gets bigger. And it starts to encompass more. It starts to have more stuff in it. It has more thoughts in it. It becomes a fuller idea structure. And it becomes a fuller set of experiences. And it takes on like a life of its own. You know what I mean? It actually becomes its own separate thing after a while.
Well, that's why I'm doing Tai Chi, for example. I mean, and they say in Tai Chi, if you don't do it, if you don't practice it, you won't be doing Tai Chi, because it takes to be consistently going into that energy space and moving the chi in your body, the energy within your body. And if you let a week go by and you don't do it, you're sort of got to start over in a way. And but if you do it consistently, you will start seeing all these different results start unfolding in your life. I definitely experienced that with the appreciation journal. When I do the appreciation journal relatively consistently, asking myself, am I enjoying this? I will not do anything any longer if I pick it up and start doing it and it just feels like a chore. It just feels like, oh, there's no joy in this for me. I'm doing this because I think it's going to get me someplace. I mean, affirmations can really easily be like that.
They just can, sure.
I'm repeating a bunch of words that, a few days ago sounded really inspiring. Now they sound like a bunch of words and they're cold and they're empty. Then what would feel exciting and uplifting, like you said, if you have a variety of practices. And that's the thing that I notice, like with coaching, is all the different people training to be coaches and working with clients is what we're trying to teach each other, whether you're a client or the coach, is you're trying to learn to be flexible in your practice, but you want to have a practice. You want to have some way that you're, do you do meditation consistently? Do you write in your appreciation journal consistently? Do you do your mirror work consistently at all? And then watch and see what the results are when you have some consistency to it that feels good, and I love the fact of always asking myself, is my vibration, am I communicating to the universe the vibration that I want going forward in my life? If I'm fixing my food, am am I doing it from a place that feels good? Is it fun? Am I having fun making my bowl of cereal? Am I enjoying making coffee? Am I enjoying anticipation of how it's going to taste and just enjoying the cup, of just sitting there with it. And so enjoyment just becomes, that's going general. If we're looking for enjoyment in most everything we're doing, we can't be on the wrong track, according to Abraham. That if you're feeling good, you're on the right track in your life. That's all you need to really know. Are you feeling good?
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. The whole idea of doing stuff that you enjoy strictly is wonderful. And it's one that I aspire to every single day. I can't say I've gotten totally into that space the way I want to, but boy, I'm a whole lot more than I used to be. I mean, if I had to apply percentages, when I first started, I enjoyed maybe 1% of my life if I was lucky, and now it's at least 80 to 90%. There are some things that I'm not enjoying as much, and I haven't fully gotten to the point where it's 100%, but I'm getting awfully close to it. And that's like a good feeling. That's a really good feeling because, among other things, it makes it easier to do the stuff that it's okay, it's just not quite as enjoyable, and to make it more fun. That's what happens. The stuff that is like sort of okay, actually becomes more fun because I am now developing a habit of feeling good. That's a powerful thing because now all of a sudden my daily routine is becoming my ally in my quest to have a completely satisfying and positive life.
Yeah. And like we're saying, you can shake up your practice. You can add something completely unexpected to it. Go on a walk when you never plan to go on a walk.
That's right. Yeah.
Call up a friend that you've never called up in a year or something and try to, invite them to coffee, and you'll have a different experience unfolding.
And don't be surprised when you call them if they say, I was just thinking about you.
That happens to me constantly.
That happens a lot. Yeah. That's a very common thing. A lot more common than the law of averages tells us should happen. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. When Abraham says, when you really get into this flowing into your vortex and you start seeing nothing but synchronicity, and you realize, oh, that's actually happening. That's how the universe is set up. It's all the right things are always happening at the right time for the right reason. That's sort of like, I love that when they say you can't be in the wrong place on your path. You're always where you're supposed to be on your path. And so, you're unfolding it. You're creating it as you go. And if you're putting, doo-doo on your path and stepping in it, well, that's what you're doing right now, and, you could begin to change that pattern.
But, what is it that Abraham says? You can't get it wrong and you'll never get it done?
Yeah. You can't get it wrong and never get it done because we're an infinite being, and we're always going to be creating, and there's always going to be new contrast that's going to be coming up. So if we get through a certain amount of contrast and we achieve something, then it's going to spark in us another wonderful creative idea that if we're receptive, and then that creative idea will come along with new contrast. Well, gee, how would I do that? And how's that going to unfold for me? How can I let go and just see what this new thing is going to bring? And
absolutely. Speaking of contrast, we want to remind you that Tom and I will be here Tuesday evening from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time to take your calls. For those of you who've wanted to call in and can't really do it during the workday, we understand that. But certainly most people have Tuesday evening available. It's a great time to call in and share ideas, share what you've been thinking. Maybe if you have a win or two, maybe you had something you manifested very successfully that you really want to share, whatever it is. But feel free to join us for the live podcast at loatoday.net. You'll find the player there that'll play the live podcast. And there's also the link there where you can actually learn to connect in and talk to us. So join us on the Zoom platform. Tom, it's been a pleasure, and let's do it again on Tuesday night.
All right. Looking forward to it, Walt.
All right. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.